Hello. Today's video is going to deconstruct to level 9 standards a line from Robert Browning's 1842 poem, My Last Duchess. This is a poem that centres around Duke Ferrara, an Italian nobleman who resents his last wife's, his last duchess's, vibrant, outgoing personality. In fact, this is a lad that thinks any second that she's not spending in blind devotion to him is time wasted. Anywho, she's no longer his duchess, as the title states, and it is inferred in this poem that the Duke had her killed. Classy guy, right? And this is the quotation that we're going to look at. It starts on line 23, it spills over onto line 24. She liked whate'er she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Here we see the Duke then criticising the Duchess for not focusing exclusively on him, and there's a strong implication here that he thinks she spends her time casting flirtatious glances, seductive looks at other guys. Clearly then he does not see her as a loyal, faithful wife, this Duchess lassie. So you've got your quotation, you've explained your meaning. Let's start drilling down now into how Browning's use of poetic techniques helps shape that meaning, how it helps create effects. You've got the alliteration of the W sound in whate'er and went. And I love saying this line, she liked whate'er she looked at, and her looks went everywhere, because that W sound really lends itself to a tone of disgust, outrage, shock, take your pick. You get a real sense of the Duke's feelings here towards the Duchess's behaviour. So that W sound really bringing something to the party. And in my tireless endeavours to nudge your grade northwards, we can winkle out other techniques as well. You've got this enjambement between the two lines. They flow on, there's no punctuation slowing them down. Why? Well, this creates pace, this technique enjambement, and that lends itself to that outpouring of emotion here, whether that's outrage or anxiety or bitterness or whatever. So that second interpretation, supporting or reinforcing or shoring up our first assertion about the feelings that are being captured here. The final linguistic comment we'll make today about this line comes from the indirect nature of the Duke's speech. What am I on about? Well, we all know there's lots of horrible words that you can use to describe a woman who's had lots of sexual partners. And there's no justice, is there? Because, a bloke does it. Oh, he's a player, he's a stud or whatever. But a woman can be seen as a tart. Now, yes, there's a societal double standard there, but that's not the point at issue today. The point is that when the Duke is talking about his wife's sexual appetite or sexual behaviour, he's not too rude, he's not too crude, he's not too explicit. He says her looks went everywhere, so he talks indirectly about this sensitive topic. And this, ladles and jelly spoons, boils and grills, is euphemism. Case in point, I made a pie last week and my daughter, not wishing to offend me, said, "Oh, the flavours are quite robust, Dad." Translation, it's grim as hell, I wouldn't feed it to a dog. Similarly, apparently gun manuals don't say, "Oh yeah, this gun will blow your bloody head off." They'll say something like, "Oh yes, this gun can penetrate the flesh of a thin-skinned animal at 1,000 yards. It's the same meaning, but it's a more sensitive, subtle delivery. Why does the Duke use euphemism here? Well, it helps to maintain his dignity, his social status, his civility, his position as an Italian nobleman. Very briefly then, before I bow out, I'll slap this up so you can see what some of those ideas on this quotation look like once I've shoehorned them into an exam response. If a question was on strong emotions or feelings, and you can see from the purple font here where I engage with that question's key theme, if the question was on strong feelings, then this paragraph would be of level 9 quality, because it lays on two explanations or interpretations, stuff in red there, for the one piece of evidence that we've cited. Also, again in red, we've got the techniques used by Browning to engage the reader and shape those meanings or explanations. A final model paragraph, different question this time, same level 9 quality. I'm not bothering explaining the enjambement this time. I've instead looked at the effect of euphemism, and the question is on character in this case. So, we'll leave our Duke to prepare for his next Duchess, and we'll toddle off into the sunset. One quotation, analysed to level 9 standards. Job's a good one. Best of luck in that exam.